All life comes to an end. Ourselves and everyone we do and do not know, loved ones and strangers, will all die. This inevitable part of life is something we generally don't speak of or contemplate much. It can be an emotionally taxing aspect of our mortality when considered. Death arrives and takes away people we love, and it commonly evokes fear when one imagines what it will be like to eventually perish ourselves. Introducing the Stoic view of death. A note before we begin. The last video I made on this channel is a very brief look at Stoicism as a whole, which I feel will serve as a nice bit of background on what the Stoics believe and will hopefully tie in nicely with what we'll be looking at here. The Stoics hold that humans have a soul, a rational soul, consisting of 8 parts, the substance of which they call pneuma. The 8 parts being our 5 senses, a reproductive faculty, a speech faculty, and the central commanding faculty. Though we won't look at this much more, as it is an area of their doctrine in its own right. Pneuma can be translated as breath of life, and is a mixture of the elements air and fire. It can be difficult to distinguish between pneuma and logos, but to my best understanding, the pneuma is an aspect of the logos, and is essentially the soul of nature, or God, and it is something we possess, as according to Stoic doctrine, nature, or God, breathed the logos into the first human upon creation. Quoting the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy, Plato defined death as the separation of the soul from the body, which the Stoics agreed with and adopted, though they disagreed slightly with Plato's view, holding that only physical things can separate from physical things, so the soul must be physical. They say that separation occurs when the soul loosens its tension, sleep being a mild form of this, and death being a total relaxation and loosening, resulting in the soul's departure. So, how should we deal with death? The Stoics hold that philosophy can be used as a practical way of living, a way in which contemplation can lead to positive action and peace of mind. And it is through contemplation and acceptance that we can prepare for death's inevitability, resulting in the abolishment of fear and a recognition that death is neither good nor evil. It is but a natural process. Quoting a famous Stoic known as Seneca, death is a release from all pains, and it is a boundary beyond which our suffering cannot go. It returns us to that state of peacefulness in which we lay before we are born. If someone pities those who have died, let them also pity those who have not been born. Some Stoics hold that death is not necessarily the end of a person's existence. Some say human souls exist independently for a time after, and it is not until the end of existence that they perish, when all matter returns to its source, the cosmic fire. Others hold only wise souls endure, and that unwise souls return to the pneuma shortly after their departure. The souls of irrational creatures, though, it is widely held that they are destroyed along with their bodies upon death. These views, however, have no real practical value, as the Stoics do not support the idea of an afterlife. Lastly, a note on euthanasia and suicide. This is a choice that the Stoics held to be not necessarily morally wrong, as long as an individual voluntarily requests euthanasia, or decides themselves to commit suicide, but importantly, when in sound mind, meaning no mental illnesses are present, and the choice being a wholly rational one, rooted in wisdom. To summarise, humans have souls. They may or may not exist independently after death, though there is not an afterlife, so life should be lived in the here and now. Euthanasia and suicide are not necessarily morally wrong, when and only when an individual makes this choice rationally and in sound mind. Death is neither good nor evil. It is a natural process that should be accepted, and contemplating its inevitability can replace fear with peace of mind, ultimately resulting in one's eudaimonia. This was my attempt at briefly introducing the Stoic view of death. What do you think?